Fearscape Media Network, exploring the unknown, one podcast at a time.
The SCP multiverse is under constant assault, and destruction can come at any moment. Therefore, having just one database is a folly the Foundation can no longer accept. Join Dr. Kevin Milgram and SCP-073, Kane, as they create an oral history of the SCP Foundation, in Memories of Kane, an SCP story, hosted by Daniel Doremus. For should the Foundation fall, the unkillable first murderer of man will live on. New episodes drop every second Wednesday of the month on the Fearscape Media Network. Visit fearscapemedia.com for more information.
Coming to you from nowhere, a suburb of parts unknown, your ghoulish hosts for an evening of terror, Stefan Gearhart and Lance Wayne, the Misters of the Dark.
Good evening, dear friends! Welcome to another terrifying episode of Misters of the Dark! Woo! The greatest horror podcast in the history of horror podcasting. As always, we're being directly to you from nowhere, a suburb of parts unknown. I'm your co-mister, the man with no name, Lance Wayne.
Woo, hey, I'm your headmister, Lord Stefan Gearhart. Oh yeah.
Stefan, is it almost ready?
Almost, dear brother. Let me just hook up the who's it to the what's it here, with the bing bang doom, to the smabbity pap, and the whatchamacallit to the hoop-a-did-you.
I realize, dear friends, you may be confused, but allow your always insightful co-mister to explain. After binge watching all three Fear Street films, me and Lord Stefan became a bit nostalgic for bygone days. They say with memory you get to live twice, but they weren't someone who has an almost supernatural-like eye for detail and has a brother with Einsteinian levels of scientific intelligence.
Woo! Oh, Lance! Lance! It's alive! It's alive! Welcome, world. Introduce you to the time machine of the dark. It's complete, my brother.
At last! Now we can explore the wilds of
1994.
1994?
Why, of course. Don't you want to witness the birth of grunge?
Stefan, I hate grunge.
Oopsie, too late. Welcome to 1994, dear brother.
Oh boy, where mixtapes are God.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You know, I bet if you get a mixtape for the Mr. Sister Trisha, she'd probably be pumped about that because she likes mixtapes, especially with human screams.
Oh, really? Really? I might throw, just for the nostalgic factor, throw some Paula Abdul.
Oh yeah.
Who else?
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam, yes.
Old school Janet Jackson.
Black Cat, Never Gonna Die.
Black Michael Jackson.
No, by 1994, he'd already become.
Oh, he'd already slid his way into white. And when I'll be honest with you, when I was a kid, I love Michael Jackson, and when Black and White came out, I was like, is he trying to figure out what he is anymore?
Is he having an identity crisis?
I didn't know. But yeah, so Fear Street Trilogy, dude, amazing. I'm just gonna throw that out. I'm gonna throw it out I'm gonna switch this like Michael Jackson's Jam. song from the Dangerous album. Yeah, you didn't like the Fear Street movies? Oh my God, you just sat there quiet the whole time.
Let's just do them, one by one as we travel through time.
All right, well, since we're here in 94, we'll start with the first one, Fear Street, Part 1, 1994. Okay?
Yes.
This is teen slasher films, okay? Trilogy, directed by Lee Janiak. Based off of the R.L. Stine young adult books Fear Street that I love. I was not a Goosebumps kid. I was too old.
Yeah, see, this is what I want to ask you, because I watched some of these, parts of them with my sister, and my sister, she had some of the Fear Street books. I just remember the covers, because the Goosebumps covers, see, I was a Goosebumps kid. The Goosebumps covers, some of them were scary enough, but you saw some of these Fear Street covers, and they were fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah, so Goosebumps legit was for kids, and so he wanted to make something a little more high schoolish and something that they'd be interested in, and so he came out with Fear Street, and I read the hell out of them because I was already reading Stephen King and things like that, and so to be able to get something scary like that, and he did not hold back. I mean, there was blood and gore and sex in these books.
Okay. So the films, they weren't pushing any envelope. They were.
Oh yeah, they were.
So the source, they stick true to the source material.
Oh yeah, Fear Street was the Scream movies of the young adult world. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Books. They were great. Yeah, he definitely pushed Brown. It pissed people off because people were used to Goosebumps, and so a lot of parents bought it for their kids, thinking they were just a new Goosebumps series. Wrong. So when these came out, I was like, these better be rated R, or I'm gonna be pissed, and they were.
Yeah. And like my sister, because like I said, I had heard of Fear Street. I've never. I will admit, I've never read any of the books. My sister was a little bit more familiar with it. And I mean, when she was even watching parts of it, she was like, I don't remember it being this graphic. And I think she just kind of dwelled into the Fear Street book. She was more of a Goosebumps kid herself.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong, they weren't as graphic as these movies were, because we live in a day and age where it's graphic again is the hot ticket. Because they were still young adult books. I mean, they were not by any means, adult books. They were still meant for kids. They were just meant for older kids, like high school and college. And so it definitely, but I mean, there was definitely blood and gore and slashers and sex and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What about language?
Language for sure was in there. Just not like in abundance, like it is today. Though I would not be surprised if he had written this these days. I bet you there would have been a lot more language in it. But they knew when Netflix got this, which they bought this off of Disney when Disney bought 21st Century Fox, because Fox owned all the rights to Fear Street, and Disney was like, yeah, we don't want this, and so they sold it.
See, I knew the Goosebumps series came on the Fox Kids. I don't even know who released the because there's a Goosebumps. There were 2 films actually, not too long ago.
Yeah, there was actually a Fear Street. There was a Fear Street film that came out in the 90s. It was a pilot.
Really?
Yeah, they were trying to create a Fear Street TV show. It's awful. It was the 90s, and it was that 90s.
Oh, really?
Oh, just that where we're like, we kind of got a guy that does CGI. Right? You know how the 90s was? It was awful. I actually tried to go back and watch it. I remember thinking it was cool because they showed it as like a Sunday night movie or whatever on Fox. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, it's the Fear Street books. And now I'm like, oh my God. The 90s just did not age well in terms of movies and TV. Especially TV.
In terms,
TV, especially
CGI too. So.
Yeah. God. Anywho, so Netflix bought the rights to this pretty quickly, because if you recall, the sale of 21st Century Fox to Disney happened not too long ago. So I mean, they snatched bad boy up pretty quickly and threw together a trilogy of movies, and I was like, hell yeah. I didn't realize how closely they were going to all be connected. I thought we were just going to see 3 different films. And
that's the impression I got. Also,
yeah,
and you can tell. Yeah, you can tell that these were slapped together. Let me just say.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree. I don't think it was slapped together. Anyways, but the cool thing is that they wanted to hit different genres of horror, subgenres of horror, which was really cool. The interesting thing is though these themes do run rampant in the books. I don't believe that these are actual stories from the books as much as based off of the books. Because Shadyside and Sunnyvale, these are the two towns that run through Fear Street. That is legit. Sarah Fear, that is legit. That is what Fear Street is named for in the books and all of that. So that's a running theme. So more of the opening to Fear Street Part 1 is kind of more of what the books were about. So how they revisit all these different murders and things like that.
Okay, so they did it kind of like the Scary Stories Told in the Dark film. They bridged these separate stories all together.
Correct, yeah. So there were, and so legit, and they talk about this in the movie, always throughout the years have been murders after murders in Shadyside, and that happens in the books. And Sunnyvale was always the good town. And the only thing is too close to Sunnydale. And I was thinking, where's Buffy? Buffy would have fucked them up.
Yeah, well, and I did. And I mean, this is, you got to understand, this is coming from a 90s young adult book series. But even as I was watching it, I was like, you know what? Sunnyvale and Shadyside's a little bit too on the nose.
Well, you can tell that he wrote Goosebumps for a long time. You know, but regardless, so that's kind of a thing there. I do want to see here real quick. So he originally called the book series The Ghost of Fear Street, but quickly just changed that. Sorry. He created Ghost of Fear Street afterwards to try to pull in the Goosebumps audience. So it kind of hit more of a tween audience, and it kind of dealt more with aliens and monsters and twist endings and things like that. And it was a little bit easier to handle there. But yeah, he started that in 1989. But very, very cool. But yeah, I'm looking kind of just quickly over. Yeah, the fears were a big part of it. The Puritans. All of that stuff was a big part of the book series there, but they were all still individual book series, but kind of I would say it was like a shared universe.
Okay, all right, well,
so but anyways, let's get talking about this movie, man. Okay, so the first thing I want to say before we even get cracking, the thing that I loved was the homages to the movies in the era of each film. So the first one, I even have it written down. It says first kill is an homage to Scream. Yeah, the whole movie is an homage to Scream. So it's set in 94.
This is
because we talk about it all the time. Scream created a whole new genre of slasher type movies that were done in a very different way than they had been up to at that point. This pays homage to that. The 1978 one brings us back to the camp slasher, so it brings us back into Jason type things, as well as the 1666 one gets us to more of those like gothic 1960s.
Well, I mean, what really reminded me of when I thought, that they're referencing Scream with this first kill, is the fact that it's Maya Hawke, who is probably the biggest star in these films, coming just off of Stranger Things and stuff. And I watched a couple of the trailers, but for all intents and purposes, it looks like Maya Hawke was going to be like the star of this. I mean, that's what I always got from it. Did you?
No. Not at all.
Really?
Okay. I had seen all the trailers too. Didn't really see her much. I mean, the second I saw her, I was like, they're going to do a Scream thing. Is exactly what I thought. I was thinking she's Drew Barrymore right away.
Really?
Right away. Because it was the opening scene and it's the 90s. I had already heard they were paying homage to these eras. And so right away I was like, she's dead, and I was like, they snatched her up because she owned Netflix already.
Yeah.
But it was actually, and I did find out that they were going to release these theatrically, They were actually supposed to come out.
Really?
Yeah, they were actually supposed to come out last year. Netflix was gonna really. I think they had done it once before with like Manchester by the Sea or something like that, where they released it theatrically as well, and they were gonna do that, but the pandemic stopped it, and it actually took a year later before it came out. So.
Okay.
So in terms of being slapped together, it was ready to be released a year ago. So,
still.
Anywho, but yeah, so you got Maya Hawke, and if people don't know, this is Ethan Hawke's daughter, and she's freaking awesome.
well, and I'd love it. I'd just a little side note here, since we're in the 90s and stuff. One of my biggest childhood crushes, believe it or not, was Uma Thurman.
Oh, I had a huge crush on Uma Thurman, especially after
but,
Dangerous Liaisons. You know what I'm saying?
Well, see, for me, it was, even though the film is shit, Poison Ivy.
Oh, yeah.
Her portrayal is, hummina.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
I was just saying Dangerous Liaisons because you see her boobies.
Dangerous Liaisons is on my list to watch now. So, yeah, thank you.
Have you never seen Dangerous Liaisons?
I have not.
Oh, man. John Malkovich is in that bad boy.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have to. What year would you say this came out?
God, probably around this time, 1994.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, yeah. I will definitely be checking that out.
It's based off of a book, I believe, that's based off of then a Broadway play. Let me see. Now I got to find out because I haven't watched it in a minute. It's an opera. Sorry. Turned into an opera. Oh, no, it was a play. Okay, so first it was a book. And then it was an opera. Or no. Then it was a play. Then it was the movie. So the movie came out in 1988. And then it became an opera. But yeah, it's a really famous book. Glenn Close is in it, Michelle Pfeiffer, John Malkovich, and a young Uma Thurman. It's like one of her first roles.
Oh boy.
Keanu Reeves is in it, Swoozie Kurtz.
Jesus.
Yeah.
It's got everybody from that time, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's basically, you'll see. You just watch it.
All right. Yeah. Yep. We'll be checking it out.
Anyway, so I don't want to spend crazy amount of time because we got to cover 3 films in this episode.
Yes. So this is our Megasode.
I don't want to run through every bullet point like we usually do. And of course, spoiler alert, if you're listening to the show and you don't know that, go fuck yourself. But anyways, so we got Maya Hawke. We got her. She's a bookstore employee. She's closing up for the night. We got a masked killer on the loose wearing a skull mask, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And her best friend turns out to be the killer. Like, I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, who works at a store that reminded me an awful lot like Spencer's. Yeah, one of those type stores. Yeah, that's what I found so crazy about this film, because it's supposed to be making you all nostalgic for the mall and stuff, but it was like what you're gonna hear me kind of bitch about this a lot throughout this review, but I guess they spent all of their money on music rights and couldn't get any of the rights to these stores. No, that's not true at all. There was a number of stores that were legit stores that I remember from the 90s. Well, like the Sbarro. The Sbarro's not called the Sbarro. It's called something else, but it is a Sbarro. Well, they may not have been able to get all of them that they wanted, but I mean, I recognized a ton of stores. Because they spent all the fucking money on 9 Inch Nails and fucking Creep and fucking God. I agree. And my wife and I talked about this as well, that like literally every 5 minutes was a new 90s song. Oh my God. There for a while, it was just like, it was almost like music videos. Yes. It was just song after song. It drove me up the fucking wall. And I don't even like 90s music, as I have stated before. Well, this movie wasn't for you, it's for me. I guess so. Yeah, I think it really was. Because I was in high school. That was my 94 to 95 was my sophomore year, so I can age myself here. But yeah, I recognize a lot of stories. But yeah, so Heather Watkins was her name. She gets, her friend or whatever's wanting to hang out or whatever, and she's like, nah, bruh, I can't, blah, blah, blah. Well, she couldn't get the gate shut. That was a big thing. She basically works at, I think she was a Walden bookstore, and she couldn't get it. She couldn't get the gate shut, and then they're hearing that there had already been some murders, right? That there had already been a bunch of murders, so everyone's like, oh yeah, I got to be careful. So since there's been murders, we're gonna have one security guard here for you guys, okay? Just one. Yeah. But yeah, he gets in there. You don't know it's him yet, though. I'm pretty sure we all figured it out pretty quick. I don't think it was meant to be hidden. He's got that mask on, and it basically looks like Scream. Lots of homage. Music was similar to Scream. The way he moved, I loved it. I loved the homage to Scream with this character specifically. And then so he killed her. And then you find out because he comes running out and gets shot by was it the cop or the security guard, or were they the one in the
cop? It was the cop.
Oh, so it was the Sheriff Good or whatever.
Yeah, Sheriff Good.
Yeah, so Sheriff Good shows up, shoots this bastard, takes off the mask, and it reveals to be Ryan Torres, who was her BFF. And she, she even saw that too. She's like, "Why are you doing this?" And
I even have it written here that's like the first kill little too dramatic because they kind of stretch it, and it's just like, I think it would have been way more, would have affected you a lot more if it was just a little bit more wham bam thank you ma'am,
Sure, I guess, but I mean, if you're trying to pay homage to Scream, I mean, they drew that fucker out big time, and then her boyfriend was outside. I mean, just everything. So I think they were trying to pay homage. So then we jump to this, kind of sets up the whole series, the media reporting about how there's two towns near each other. Shadyside is essentially the murder capital of the United States, while Sunnyvale is basically the richest and safest city in the country.
Well, and I even wrote here, I did think they did a pretty all right job at that. I thought it had a cool opening credits.
Yeah, it reminded me like Frank Miller and like Todd McFarlane and Spawn, and how they used to do a lot of those news footage things in the beginnings of the comics.
I could totally see that. It was a little too hard to follow at times, but I mean, I don't think you were necessarily. It did an all right job of like making you see what it wanted you to see.
Exactly.
If that makes any sense.
Yes, so 100%. It also kind of got you to allude that most of the people in Shadyside believe that they have a curse on their town as a result of the witch Sarah Fear, who placed a curse on the town before being executed for witchcraft in 1666. So that is our precursor to the entire trilogy of films, but it sets us up more so for our main character, which is Dina Johnson, who I loved. This actress.
Oh my God.
Did you not like her?
No.
Oh my God, I loved her. Me and Sarah loved her. Oh God, I loved her face. I loved her acting.
No,
I loved everything about her.
I didn't like the character. I thought the character was just super fucking whiny. And as we go through, I didn't like any of the characters in this film, to be honest with you. I like
the 90s. I mean, who do you really like? And like, I Know What You Did Last Summer. No one.
I like one character, and I'll elaborate on that.
It better be the brother, because the brother is awesome.
I couldn't stand the brother.
So, but anyway, so you got Dina Johnson. She's a Shadyside student. She does not believe in the Fear Witch. She's recently broken up with her closeted girlfriend, Sam. Now, this I thought was a bit of a stretch, having a gay relationship. This was 1994. I feel like it would have been way more closeted.
Yeah. I felt the same way.
Now, don't get me wrong. I remember in high school there were a few people that were out, but it was real rare. You know what I mean? So I did feel like that was a stretch just to kind of push I hate to sound like a Republican or something, but push the gay agenda, which I always love.
Well,
I could care less. It's just
I'm the same way. I'm all about representation, man. All about it. I think it's great. But it can be like anything else. It can feel a little shoehorned sometimes. And it did feel a little, well, especially with like, I didn't like how the reveal that it, like, because like I'm honest to God, and I don't know, maybe you didn't get this to me, but like we're supposed to almost, they're making it us think that, oh, this is her boyfriend,
right?
And then like the reveal is it's a girl. I didn't like that.
I didn't like that either. Again, that's what I'm saying.
It felt like a gimmick.
And that's what I meant by the gay agenda. It's like, it felt like a gimmick. It didn't, and it's like, you kind of have to, when you're doing something historical, but still trying to represent at the same time, you still do have to play to that time era. And they were in public view quite a bit, like, and loud and things like that. And that would not have been, especially in a small town. Like, I feel like they missed an opportunity to play to that more, to be honest, to up the drama. And they tried to by saying that Sam was closeted, but like, obviously not very closeted. Her mom knew right away. I mean, that's why, obviously, let's be honest, obviously, that's why the mom moved them to freaking Sunnyvale. Like, they could have played that. They didn't.
It was the dad.
Or the dad. You know what I mean? It's like,
she has a stepmom.
It's just like, I think they could have used that more to their advantage. But whatever. It's cute though. Like I said, I love the gay relationship. I think it's fantastic. I think they're adorable togethere. But it's just like, I just think it was played incorrectly. That was kind of one of my bitches about the film.
Same here.
Also, I didn't like the two of them at first. It definitely took 3 movies of me seeing them for me to be like, okay, y'all could be together.
I don't know. I just, like I said, I didn't like anybody in this movie.
But regardless, you got Dina's brother. He does all the research. He's been looking into all the murders forever on early internet.
And maybe I was getting, let me ask you something. I know I'm really showing my Spencer County education here, but was the internet like around in 1991?
We had, so in 94, we had Prodigy. There was the Prodigy, CompuServe, and AOL were pretty much it. There were 1 or 2 getting ready to come out, but it was dial up. But yeah, we had it. I mean, and it was, I remember when we first got it, you still had to pay by the minute.
No shit.
Every minute used, you would get billed.
I did not know that.
Yeah, but it was there, and the some of the libraries already had internet, and well, I mean, especially schools had an earlier form of the internet, the intranet and things like that, where you could get on message boards and stuff like that. So there was the earlier form of internet as well, if you were smart, knew how to get onto it and things like that. But yeah, it was around. It was a thing.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, I mean, I fucking in 94, I was walking around with my finger up my nose or probably somewhere else, honestly. So yeah,
I was getting in trouble trying to pull up a naked pic of some celebrity that took 4 hours to just upload.
That's what I have heard of that before.
Yep. Man, that's why I love that Wayback Machine. Not for the celebrity nude pic, but just going back and looking at the old websites that I used to go to in the early 90s, like just the weird things. And I'm like, wow, this sucked. But yeah, message boards were huge, especially chat rooms. Like, like AOL had its own stuff. Prodigy had their own chat rooms. I mean, I was on there all the time talking about true crime and horror and paranormal stuff on all these like chat rooms and shit. My dad would be like, get off the goddamn Prodigy. So, cause I was on there all night, like spending $100. But anyway, so he's looking up the town's history. He totally believes in all that. And then you got Dina's very stereotypical friends, Simon and Kate, who are the druggies in the town.
Okay. Here we go. Kate is the only character I like.
You liked Kate.
I liked Kate. That was the only character. Kate, I have it here written. I'm sure we'll get to the scene at some point, but I even have it written here somewhere that Kate is a fucking boss.
She is.
Kate is fucking awesome. Simon, oh my god, I could not wait for him to die the first moment I saw him on the fucking screen.
I agree.
He was annoying as fuck. He was
I
annoying
agree.
as all fucking.
And I could not figure out what their relationship was. I'm glad they played it out because I had no idea if they were friends or cousins or siblings or what. But yeah, Kate was pretty badass, and I did like her and Josh kind of like flirting and that kind of thing.
I hated that.
That was the thing, but that was a trope in the 90s. That was a trope in the 90s.
Yeah,
that the nerdy kid got the hot chick. Like it was a thing because geeks. It was the 90s is when geeks started becoming cool.
And again, I have it fucking written. I'm like, I can't stand whenever fucking Josh is around Kate because he just gets this fucking look on his face and it's just so fucking irritating. It's like he's like a deer in headlights, and I know it's supposed to be funny and cute, but it just annoyed the fuck out of me.
That's what you do.
I'm fucking around who?
Whoever you got a crush on. You wait till we get your girl from Joe Bob. You wait. You're gonna be like.
With all due respect to Kate, she's no Darcy the Mail Girl.
No, she is not Darcy. But anyways, I do want to cut through a lot of this. There's just a lot of shit going on. We've got we see a big, huge rivalry between Sunnyvale and Shadyside at the football game, where they're trying to have a memorial because it's not a home game for Shadyside. It was at Sunnyvale, so they decided to do the memorial for Heather Watkins there. You find out a lot of backstory, with Sam and Dina, about, they broke up and that Dina essentially broke up with Sam because she was moving over to a hoity-toity life. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Shit like that.
No, one of the dumbest lines of the fucking film. Sam says to her, "I only moved a half hour away," and Dina goes, "That might as well be on the fucking moon, and you know it." Oh god, I wanted to fucking throw up.
I love you. Well, the next bit is they're being chased. Essentially, they get chased by Sunnyvale football team.
Yeah.
And Sam's new boyfriend, which is like the quarterback dude or whatever, gets chased by these motherfuckers in a scene that reminded me of some other movie, and I can't think of what it is. There's another horror movie, and this girl ended up going out with this crew of people, and her sister or somebody was super jealous of it, and so dropped something off of a fucking bridge, and it hit her head, and so she went she got went into a coma or whatever, and you don't really find out till the very, very end when they're all old and they're all talking about it, what had happened. But it's a horror movie. I wish I could remember what it was.
God, that doesn't sound familiar to me.
Yeah, I've watched it within the last year or two. If anybody knows, if you're listening, put it in the comments. I can't think of what it is. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do some research. Be like, this happened and this happened. But anyways, it happened in the 50s, or 60s, and all this stuff was happening as they were adults years later. Anyways, so that's happened. They get into a crash. Dina totally throws a big barrel. I mean, she's just crazy. Dina don't give shit. This is why I like Dina. No. She's like, I'll fuck these fuckers up. I don't care if Sam is in that car. They get into a car crash, and then old Sheriff Good shows up. And this is when we see Sam being psychic all of a sudden for the first time because she gets a nosebleed.
I never quite understood that whole thing. Why
this is because it's the possession aspect. It's the whole point was that Sarah Fear possesses. That was the point of all three movies here. Is that Sarah Fear possesses these killers to become killers.
Yeah. And I just want to say that even up till this point, I knew that fucking Sheriff Good was one of the worst fucking cops ever. Because when he's questioning the fucking kids, they're all like, I mean, one kid literally says, "Suck it, pig."
Yeah.
And he lets them all get away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kid was also the mayor of Sunnyvale's son.
What?
Yeah, Sam's boyfriend was the mayor's son.
No, I'm talking about the kid who said Simon.
Oh,
says, Simon.
Simon. Sorry.
He still lets him go.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, man.
So essentially, like, the other side is that he is sheriff of the county, which is Union County, which they're both in there. And I think that they also say earlier that the town used to be Union. It was Union. That was the original town, and it split. That was like the whole thing. But anyways, skip. Lots of murders. Somebody in a mask is going after Dina and all of them, and there's lots of kick-ass murders. I gotta say, I love these deaths. I love these.
They were some pretty good deaths.
They were gruesome.
They didn't hold fucking back, man.
Man,
but the killer, which they think is the boyfriend of Sam.
Right. Which again, I said, is the mayor's son of Sunnyvale.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But he starts stalking them, and instead, or they believe he is stalking them, but he's wearing the killer's outfit. The killer isn't doing anything to him. He's just sneaking in and grabbing the clothes.
Well, and even that, and pulling Mike Myers moves too, just standing in the yard staring.
Yeah. But he's pulling items of clothing that they happen to be wearing with the scene of the car crash with Sam's blood on it. They don't know that. They just think, he's fucking with them. So they go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And Kate, like a fucking boss, has some kind of hookup at the hospital because visiting hours are over. They can't see Sam. But like I said, Kate, she's a fucking boss.
Yep.
She's like, get me, what was it, Eddie or something?
Something,
get me Nurse Eddie. Yeah. And so Nurse Eddie, who she has something where, because did we mention, by the way, that this cheerleading valedictorian student is also the town drug dealer.
Yeah.
So I tell you, this is how badly these characters were written.
That's shady side, bro.
Where I like a fucking drug dealer more than anybody else in the film. But I digress.
Hey, dude, my favorite character from freaking Scream was Rose McGowan's character.
Well,
this is obviously who she's supposed to kind of be like.
You think so?
Oh yeah, because she was a cheerleader, she was a bitch, like she was the one that was always partying. Like that's Rose McGowan's character in Scream.
I don't know, man. I think Kate has a little bit more in control than Rose McGowan did in those films. But anyway,
that's why it's an homage.
Okay. But anyway, they go to the hospital. Kate has the hookup. Dina goes back to see Sam.
Which, by the way, I love their nurse hookup. He's the best.
Yeah, in his pink outfit.
He's the best.
Yeah. And Dina, like the fucking tool she is, goes back and starts fucking cussing out Sam, who's in a fucking hospital bed trying to eat fucking Jello, and who's like, nursing wounds or whatever the fuck, however you want to say it. Yeah. And lo and behold, the boyfriend shows up, Stefan.
I'm not.
And what happens when the
then the killer shows up. So this was that Scream move. You know what I mean? It was like the whole time you think it's the boyfriend, and then it's not the boyfriend. But in Scream, it turns out to be the boyfriend. Yeah. But no, the boyfriend, he gets it right through the fucking chest, man. Jeez. Ooh, like I said, if there's anything that can be said about this movie, good or bad, the kills were amazing. I'll give it up for them. Yeah. Especially the fucking bread cutting machine one or whatever that was. with
Don't
Kate.
you fuck it. Save it because I'm gonna go ape shit when we talk about it.
Woo!
But anyway, they fucking haul ass, all of them. They haul ass and get into an ambulance, and they haul ass to the police station where Dina and Sam go and speak with Sheriff Good.
Yep, and Simon wanders off, gets attacked by a young girl, and then
listen. Me and Simon do agree here. We do both think that the Razor Lady is cute. The Razor Lady is kind of sexy.
The Razor Lady is cute, and this is where we see, I think for the first time, one of the other killers from the past.
Yes.
So we start to see one of the other killers from the past here, which is the Razor Lady from the 60s, which was pretty cool. He gets rescued by them. They get the fuck out of there. Of course, Sheriff Good doesn't believe anything that they have to say. And so they realize, oh God, it's the Razor Lady. So now we got two killers somehow. They realize, oh shit, I think we're being pursued by the undead here. And trace it back to the accident where Sam had the vision of the Fear Witch. So they return to the scene of the crash and realize that they disturbed the witch's grave. Now, this I didn't like because the killer was already going at this point. I think if the movie had started with this and then Heather Watkins died, I think I would have been a little more okay, but it's fine. It's fine. But it disturbed Sarah Fear's grave. They attempt to offer her a proper reburial, but are nevertheless attacked once more. Sam realizes that the witch and the killers are only after her. All of a sudden.
Yes. Yeah, they run right past them, which I thought, okay, as confusing. I mean, you said you understood the concept. I didn't. But I did like the whole, they're just after this one specific person, and they will just blatantly ignore everybody else. I did like that.
Yeah, I mean, that again is definitely a Scream move and a Mike Myers move. Like, if Mike Myers, if old girl was right there, he's gonna ignore whoever's on the right or left because he's going after Laurie. You know what I mean?
You really think so? Because I mean, I don't know, man. That what do they call them? I don't know the technical term, but that in Halloween 2018, that long shot where he's just fucking butchering people one after another.
For sure, that's a more newer Michael. I mean, but back in the day, it's like if Laurie's right in front of him, I mean, that's where he's going because that's his mission. Everyone else is just collateral, you know?
Oh, okay.
So I totally buy that, especially if you're looking at like a magic curse or something like that. Yeah. There would definitely be some sort of narrow focus, especially if you're undead. But yeah, so they realize then that the killers are attracted to Sam's blood. So they decide to set a trap at the school. They lure him into the school bathroom where they light them on fire, only to watch in horror as the killers reform out of their charred and exploded remains, which was amazing.
I even have it written somewhere, a good CGI, man. I mean, I don't say that. I can't say I think that about CGI nearly enough, but I mean, this was really fucking well done CGI. This was one of the fucking better scenes of the whole film.
Yep. And then Kate's death, coming up death, I keep alluding to it, but like her coming up death is set up here by suggesting that Kate needs to kill herself to save everyone. Or I mean, that Sam needs to die. And so basically you're already like, well, fuck you, Kate. I think that's why that was done. But yeah, they get to the school lab and, you know, Dina disagrees, but Sam, of course, is like, no, I want to do it. She gets in the hallway, pulled back inside, blah, blah. Josh has got clippings of the Shady Side killings. They discover that there is a C. Berman who also saw the witch, but survived the Camp Nightwing massacre in 1978 that was referenced a couple times.
And I even have it written, when they first brought up Camp Nightwing, I literally just have written down, DC gonna sue somebody. I mean, come on.
Well, Nightwing's been around before DC, so.
But yeah. Post-Batman world, Stefan.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, this point, everybody but Dina, Sam, and Josh are dead. I mean, Simon and Kate bit the dust. Again.
Oh no! Let's not just skip over. Let's not just skip over we're okay. We got to cover this. Okay, they decide that the sea bourbon, she died, but then was resuscitated. So they say, well, what about we? In one of the fucking most overreaching fucking moments in film history, they say, let's kill Sam and then resuscitate her.
Right.
So they decide, because
again, this is another horror movie trope that we've seen before.
I don't know, man. I could not. Anyway, it's said earlier that Simon's brother OD'd.
Right. I forgot. Yeah, we didn't mention that.
It was drugs from Kate. So
not just that, he worked in the pharmacy, or he works in the pharmacy.
Yeah. So anyway, they go back to Simon's place of work, which is the supermarket, and Kate, being the drug guru that she is, makes up all these 3 little cocktails, and like one is supposed to put you at ease, one's supposed to, anyway.
By the way, I want to say, when she was babysitting and she was having the kids create the cocktails,
that is where I wrote Kate's a fucking boss.
I love that.
But anyway, and I fucking even wrote down, I was like, oh God, now here's where I start sounding like the fucking Republican. But I was like, oh man, this movie, yes, you could be a little bit more nostalgic for it because it was your, when you were becoming a young man. But for all intents and purposes, this film is aimed at teenagers. And I was thinking, in order to save this, we're in the era where teenagers fucking record themselves eating Tide Pods.
Yeah.
Imagine when they see this fucking film and they're gonna be like, oh my God, you could take a bunch of fucking drugs and die and just magically come back.
Oh, okay, Tipper Gore. Yeah, let's go ahead.
I know, I hate it, but
she was a Democrat. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, every horror movie, it can be said to do that. Like I said, the person needs to die and then come back trope. It's a trope that I've seen in sci-fi movies, drama movie. In fact, I think it was on Manifest. I've been watching Manifest. I'm almost certain, because I feel like I just watched it like last week, where that same trope just happened, where they're supposed to die to end something, but they're like, we'll resuscitate you to bring you back. And then you're like, they didn't resuscitate. And then all of a sudden they're like, ah!
Yeah.
The classic move.
God.
The classic move.
You just compare. I have failed as a human being when somebody refers to me as Tipper Gore.
Well,
the creator of the PMRC, the least rock and roll thing in the history.
Yep, by saying that rock and roll was teaching kids to do bad stuff, so were video games. Ratings. Anyways,
okay.
But they were like, let's make Sam OD, and then we'll use a ton of EpiPens to bring her back.
Yeah.
But she really doesn't. She just throws up. She just throws up.
Yeah. But anyway, Kate's death, I wrote, bullshit. Too over the top. Kate, for one, didn't deserve to die. Well, she should have lived.
First of all, it was over the top. It cut right through the top of her head.
Oh, so. I hate you. I didn't know I could hate you anymore for bringing me into the year 1994, but I could. I hated this. I hated it. The only thing that made me feel any better is you literally wrote, yay, Simon is dead, because he gets an axe to the fucking skull.
It was awesome, though. An axe to the skull was good. It was good, but I hated to see Kate die, because I know you didn't, but I really wanted her and Josh to hook up. And so I was mad about that, and I loved Kate, but her death scene was cool. It was really interesting and done really well.
It was cool. I just wish it had been happening to like Simon or Dina, for that matter. Mm-hmm. Kate was the best character, the most likable character in this entire fucking film.
Okay.
And they fucking fucked it up.
Well, regardless, like I said, she vomits up the pills. So Dina decides to improvise by drowning Sam in a lobster
Drowning
tank.
her.
Kills this bitch. And this does, in fact, make the killers disappear. But Dina then does get revived using the EpiPens and CPR.
Yes.
So everybody's dead. Following morning, police show up. They place the blame on Simon and Kate as they were known for selling drugs. So it was an easy move. Sam and Dina reconcile. They're back together. Later that night, Sam's at the house. This was a great twist. Dina receives a call from C. Berman saying that there's no escaping the witch. And while on the phone, Sam shoves a fucking knife in Dina's stomach, who she's now obviously possessed by the witch. And my fucking mouth hit the fucking floor.
Well,
I
mine
was
didn't.
not ready for this at all.
Mine didn't, because you know why? And my sister even pointed this out also. Okay, all their fucking friends just died. And they're just hanging out, making out, eating pizza. They just went through this fucking highly traumatic fucking experience, and all their friends are dead. But no.
Tell me what movie ends with them sitting in a therapist's office saying, we're here and we're going to get our lives back together after losing our friends. Credits.
Halloween, you want to keep going back to Michael Myers? That ends with Lori fucking going, was that the boogeyman? You know what I mean? And even fucking with the reboot.
But here's my thing, man. If you've ever been to a funeral, what do? Everyone tries as hard as they can to laugh, and you eat like a motherfucker, because grieving takes different forms. And it's like, you got to take an emotional reprieve, because they just lost their friends, but they're also just realizing that fucking supernatural shit is real. There's just all this shit. And I think they just needed a fucking mental break, man. Like, just take a fucking mental break until they can regroup and figure shit out. Like, that's my opinion. But again, I also didn't know that all these movies were going to be connected. So I assumed we were done with Dina and them in 1994. So that's the other reason my mouth dropped, is I was like, oh my God, that's how they're ending this, is with her killing fucking Dina. Jesus Christ. But yeah, like, ties her up with the telephone cord is what happens there. Goodness gracious. But yeah, that was the first one. Now, and I will say, the first one is my least favorite of the three.
Mm-hmm.
It is my least favorite. I do love all three of these, but it is my least favorite.
I'm not sure. I'll once we get to talking about them, I'll probably get a better idea.
Well, then, on that note, I think that's pretty much all we can talk about with 1994.
Yeah. So, okay, Stefan. Now that you've had your fill of flannel, can we go now?
Yes, that's what I was getting to, brother, is that this place is totally tapped out. We're done here. I've gotten all the 90s that I can get. So, you want to go back even further in history?
Stefan, you don't mean.
Well, yeah. The great year of our Lord, 1978.
Maybe I can at least catch his concert.
Or an STD. Let's hurry up. Let's go. Fear Street, Part 2, 1978. All right, 70s, man. So this is a year before I was born. This is a year before I was born. This is when my mom is doing my dad.
Oh, we already kicking it off with a great visual.
Yep.
Woo!
Mom is getting hammered.
Right.
Like, it's happening.
Yeah, well, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I have written here, the first thing I have written is, cue the music, because they start off with the fucking music again, even though it is a better song choice this time. It's Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie.
Sure, same thing. And I will tell you, I expected 1666 to be a lot of harpsichord.
I did too.
Like, I just thought they were going to go through the Mozart greatest hits.
I honestly, I thought they were going to go like Quentin Tarantino, Django Unchained. Remember how that movie had like fucking rap in it and stuff? I thought they were gonna still like, even though it's 66.6, here's Insane in the fucking membrane.
So one of the things I didn't mention when we were back in 1994 is that each poster has a small little subtitle written over the top. I guess not even a subtitle, just kind of like a line of dialogue. And the first one says, face the evil. Well, what's cool is that part 2, 1978, says find the truth. Now, this was my favorite one of the trilogy.
Mine as well.
I am a camp slasher lover like it ain't nobody's business. Ain't no.
Same here. This was my favorite as well.
So again,
I think mostly because it was what's what I'm looking for. I mean, I don't really want to put you in this category with me, but I guess it was more familiar territory because it is something we love so much and have.
Sure. So yeah, there's a nostalgia in that, because that is definitely one of our favorite genres. But again, I didn't know that the overarching character was going to be Dina and Josh and them. I assumed their story was done and that we were now just going to go back and just see another instance of Sarah Fear, blah, blah. So when the movie opens with Dina and Josh restraining Sam, I was like, oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I was
like, Dina, she really came back from that fucking stab wound, didn't she?
Oh, I know. It's fine.
Hey, yeah.
It's fine.
It's only been a couple hours.
Well, you don't understand how movies work.
I guess not. I don't understand. After watching,
but yeah. So Sam's possessed by the Fear Witch. And they put her ass in the trunk of a car and go to C. Berman's house for help because C. Berman's like, I ain't helping you. Y'all are on your own. So they said, fuck it. Let's go to her house. Berman, who is an actress who I love. She was in Ozark, in the first season of Ozark. If you haven't watched Ozark, really good show. But I've seen her in some other things. And so she's somebody one of those kind of B-listers that you recognize in a lot of stuff. So super pumped.
Wasn't she in Community?
I never watched Community.
Okay, I thought somebody told me that. I haven't either, but
yeah, I don't know.
I thought I'd throw that out there.
I don't know. But yeah, they go to her house, and her house is crazy. It's got all these alarm clocks that were was never really explained,
revealed. Yeah, that, and I even wrote clock sounds are unnerving. Like they are like they do kind of freak
she's
you out.
Obviously pretty OCD or forgetful, one or the other.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and her dog's named Major Tom, by the way. Her dog's named Major Tom. I
totally loved that. Yeah.
I thought that was kind of cute.
So, but yeah, she lets them in and she talks. They basically want to know what happened because she basically tells her, hey, she's possessed by Sarah Fear. This is what happened. And they want to know how she got out of it, how she survived. And so she begins to tell her story of the events that happened at Camp Nightwing in 1978.
Yeah, Nightwing.
So you got two sisters, Ziggy Berman and Cindy Berman, which Ziggy is such a cool name already, total 70s, nickname.
Well, Ziggy Stardust stuff.
Yeah. And so Ziggy is obviously the shady side kid that here's this camp. And so this camp, by the way, is a camp that has both shady side and Sunnyvale kids. Classic 70s, early 80s camp. I mean, they've got uniforms. I mean, this is on a lake. I mean, and it's very Camp Crystal Lake. It's all of those things. And of course, the counselors are saying that Ziggy was stealing, though we know that Ziggy's just the kid that gets in trouble for everything. She's a scapegoat and all that stuff. Then they accuse her of being a witch, even, and they grab a rope and they begin to burn her.
What the fuck? I even wrote burning over fucking $10. Jesus.
like burning her. Like, what the fuck? Teenagers are fucked up, man.
They are, man. I swear to God, they are.
But then you got the two other counselors here, Nick Good and Kurt. They intervene. Nick, we find out, is Sheriff Good. Or Kurt. I don't know. One of the brothers is fucking Sheriff Good. I can't ever fucking remember which one. And then Ziggy's older sister, Cindy, of course, is there. And she's got her boyfriend, Tommy Slater. What a great name. What a great 70s, 80s fucking name. Tommy fucking Slater.
Yeah.
Could have even worked as a slasher name. The Legend of Tommy Slater. Like, oh, that would have been great.
Or a wrestler.
Yeah. And then you got Nurse Lane, who's really weird. And we find out she's the mother of the Shady
Ruby
Side
Lane.
Killer, Ruby Lane, the
Ruby Lane.
razor blade chickie do.
Well, and she's even, we didn't bring it, it wasn't, but she's actually in 1994.
Yeah.
Because whenever Kate and them have to leave, and Kate is babysitting, she leaves them with Nurse Lane. And she even says, I love children. I used to be a nurse.
Yep. And she comes back again too. She is definitely one that is in all three. Well, not all three eras. Never mind. Anyways. But yeah, Nurse Lane, she's the camp nurse, and really the only adult that I've seen.
Yeah, true.
Because I never saw like a head counselor or anyone, just the kids, and then the older kids that were the counselors. And Nurse Lane was legit pretty much the only adult there.
Yeah. Very true.
Yep. So let's see here. They're cleaning the mess hall. Nurse Lane's kind of weird. So Ziggy goes in, and after getting burned and shit like that, to the nurse, and the nurse just kind of starts flipping her shit. You can see she's really, really fucked up. There's a book there that Ziggy starts to look at, and this book comes back into play, especially in the next movie, and a symbol and all kinds of shit like that. And Nurse Lane just loses her shit. Next thing you know, she's in the fucking cafeteria where Tommy and Cindy are fucking cleaning, and she just attacks Tommy, just attacks his ass.
Yeah. Well, she says something to him beforehand, I'm sorry, but it's been foretold you're going to die.
You're going to die. That you're going to die tonight. Police show up. They get her out of there. And of course, all the teenagers from Sunnyvale believe that she's possessed by Sarah Fear, as was her daughter. And so that was already, Sunnyvale always thinks that, it's funny because I think the Sunnyvale kids believe the curse more than the Shady Side kids do. Because the Shady Side kids are more like, oh, we're just fucked up. We're just fucked up. And Sunnyvale kids are like, yeah, because y'all are fucking cursed. But yeah, so they decide to go look in the infirmary. And that's when Cindy and Tommy encounter Cindy's old friend, Alice, who is an interesting character, and her boyfriend, Arnie. So essentially, we've got another Simon and Kate here, but they're more the Cheech and Chong druggies.
They're
70s.
Yeah, they're
druggies. But yeah, there's obviously some animosity here. Alice is gone punk. She definitely goes punk, whereas Arnie is your classic fucking just pothead, long hair, listens to Zeppelin type 70s dude. They find the diary, which we had talked about, the book, saying that Sarah Fear made a deal with the devil by cutting off her hand on Satan's stone, thereby earning eternal life. And they find a map in the diary leading to Fear's house. And I think at this point they realize that the camp was where Union used to be.
Yeah.
So a lot of the buildings and things like that were either repurposed or whatever, or just put on the same areas, as there was probably cornerstones and things like that to create this camp. They go to where Sarah Fear's house would have been. They find empty graves dug up by Nurse Lane and discover that the witch's mark was below the house. And so Alice and Cindy find a wall carved with the names of all the Shady Side killers, and Tommy's name is included. Yeah,
because we failed to mention that since whenever Nurse Lane first pops up and says the whole "you're gonna die" and tries to stab him, bumps his head, and we all think, oh, because there's times where Cindy's like, "Are you all right?"
Yeah,
and he's like, "Hey, I'm fine, just a little woozy or whatever." But it's actually not that. He's slowly becoming
the killer, which is pretty cool. And it was handled differently than Sam was. Like Sam almost kind of instantly flipped into being possessed, right? Whereas Tommy slowly becomes, and I don't know if this point had happened yet or not, but one point where Cindy and Tommy were in the bathroom and they were cleaning and they found all this red mold or red moss.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. I was sitting there thinking, I was like, fuck, this is the 70s. Y'all need to get out of there. That's freaking, what's that stuff that they found inside houses that you can't asbestos. I'm like, is that asbestos? Y'all need to get out of there. I'm even telling Sarah, I was like, what a funny thing for it to be the 70s and they're making fun of asbestos, like, is what I thought it was. Yeah. That shit did look pretty fucking lethal. I don't know, man. Yeah, it gave me bad vibes too, though. Yeah, it was cool though. Oh, yeah, because here's what it is. So Tommy, though, is now possessed, right? He slowly becomes possessed. Like I said, we're trying to skip through this. He kills Arnie with an axe, which is...
Dude, I even have first kill, axe, fucking brutal.
Brutal. Like, you talk about...
Oh, my God.
That sat with me for a while.
Yeah, I've seen many axe murders in my day, but this one, fucking chef's kiss. Mwah.
Oh my God!
It was fucking God. Watch this.
I failed to mention this, but earlier, Kurt, who's like the I think Kurt becomes the mayor or something I don't know, whatever. But he's like the main guy that runs the shady side, or the Sunnyvale side of things. And they really talk about red versus blue. They have games, shady side versus Sunnydale.
Well, and it's even called it's called the Color War. I just have Color War.
Oh yeah, Color War. Yeah.
Because I was like, I know it's the 70s, but
that's what it was called, though. It was capture the flag now, but essentially, Color War.
Was it that the shit that Manson was fucking preaching about?
Yeah, that's the race war. The same.
Oh, okay.
Difference though to Manson. Yeah. But so there's that going on. So people are already out and about trying to play this game. This is why everyone's all spread out during all of this. But yeah, when all this stuff happens. But regardless. Alice and Cindy somehow escape Tommy, who's now possessed, like we said. And all kinds of stuff. Nick and Ziggy are kind of like getting a little bit closer. Like Nick is kind of like, remember he rescued her from being burned to death at a fucking tree. Yeah. And things like that.
$10.
Yeah. Basically, they kind of bond while all this stuff is going on because Tommy's running around trying to fucking kill everybody. Nick helps Ziggy prank Sheila and lock her in the outhouse. Who is like the rich? Who's the other side of things? She's the snooty girl.
They decide to carry her.
Yeah, but they end up like Tommy reaches the camp and starts murdering Shady Side campers. Now this gets to where
he just starts fucking killing kids, man. This fucking movie doesn't. Yeah, this movie doesn't hold fucking back.
Like usually in the old camp movies, it's always just the counselors because Jason was just all about the counselors and
even fucking Jason had a fucking little bit of a conscience.
Like I honestly don't think he would have ever killed Tommy Jarvis. I think he would have let it slide because he wasn't a, you know what I mean? He wasn't a teenage sex freak.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like, so he's just murdering kids and there's some gruesome shit murdering these kids too, dude. Oh my God, man. Even more of the counselors are getting killed. Cindy and Alice are underground. They're in the cave at this point, which you find out is pretty well connected underneath the entire town there. Well, the camp. There's this old cave that's underneath there. They come across a pile of beating organs, which is gross. Alice touches it.
Yeah, I was never sure what this was meant to represent. I don't know if it was like supposed to be like the heart of the evil of whatever.
Not either. But yeah, Alice got flashbacks here. She was able to see past killers and their victims, like not just Ruby, but I mean like other ones going back decades and things like that. It's very interesting. Alice hurts herself. One of the things that's funny, before Tommy went crazy, when they were in Nurse Lane's office, the reason that Alice was in there with your boy was because they were trying to find drugs because they knew that Nurse Lane was gone. And so they mentioned that they found this drug. It's like L217.
Yeah.
I immediately Googled it and saw that it was acetaminophen and laughed my ass off because they're like, I'm just not feeling anything. Are you feeling anything? I'm not feeling anything. And so when Alice gets hurt and she hurts her leg, I'm like, at least she's got a painkiller already.
Well, fuck it. I just up to this point, remember we had just witnessed one of the most brutal fucking axe murders in cinema history, along with some children getting butchered. But yet, when it came to the Alice broken leg stuff, I could barely watch the screen.
Oh,
it was so fucking gnarly and gross.
But you really get into their old friendship and what happened. This
film had vast more likable it was even some of the same themes, as the first one. It was just handled better.
Were
you let me ask though, were you afraid? Because we felt the same way about as we stated earlier, we felt the same way about Sam and Dina's relationship in the first film. Were you afraid that's the route they were going to take with Cindy and Alice?
I never got that.
You didn't. See, I thought it was going to be. I thought they were again, because like I said, the thing I didn't like about it was in the first film was it was a big reveal.
But the funny thing is, I would have been more okay with it in the 70s than in the 90s, because 90s was that big conservative movement that happened. You know what I mean? And so everything got tamped back down, like we said, Tipper Gore and all of that movement for if you've ever seen that documentary on the Netflix called The Family, where they talk about the religious institution that kind of has affected politics for the last fucking 30-40 years. It's insane. So I would have actually been more happy because we're looking at fucking the dirty 70s. You know what I mean?
That's
things
true.
were just fucked up in the 70s.
Now they're using David Bowie, one of the most androgynous entertainers of all time.
Yep. So they kind of make amends. And they find a cave opening, which they realize is the outhouse. Now, let me tell you, whoever designed this camp was an asshole. Literally. They were like, oh, here's a hole in the ground to a cave. Let's put the shitter underneath of it. And no one noticed how far down that the shit dropped. Like, I've been in outhouses, okay? I've been in shitters. I know what when there's a big ass opening there, but whatever. That was one of the most unbelievable things for me about this movie was that the shitter was over this giant cave.
Yeah, what if that shit caved in, man? What the fuck? What if the fucking porta potties or whatever?
And knowing that it was intentional. Somebody was like, yes, look, we don't even have to dig a hole. There's a cave here. Let it go into the cave. What? If you knew that there was a cave there and you're at a camp, you'd be like, let's get this so we can do spelunking with the kids. Not put a shitter over the top of it.
That's just fucking lazy. That's laziness right there. Fucking fucking union, I swear to God.
But anyways, so you got like, let's see. Sheila's still being pranked in the bathroom. And gets
her and Ziggy have a knockout drag out.
Oh yeah, and she gets knocked unconscious, and then Gary, the counselor, comes to rescue Alice and Cindy until Tommy decapitates Gary. So like that was
fucking one of the best decapitations. Just like the fucking axe murder. It was. And by the way, did you notice that was the pervy friend? Gary was the pervy friend from the Halloween 2018 film.
Oh, he was. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man, that guy can't catch a break of these fucking notes.
Here's this dude just trying to rescue these girls and loses. Oh no. Loses. It was good. But Ziggy runs off.
His body fucking falls down the fucking toilet.
And there's just like, and the worst part is because it's a shitter. When they're trying to pull Alice up, you're just like, oh, she's rubbing up against old shit.
That wound.
But yeah, so she runs off and Ziggy runs off and hides with Nick. Nick gets injured by Tommy. They escape to the mess hall. The rest of the folks were able to kind of get everyone on a bus. There was a plan in action. Nick does pretty good. He's, his dad is a famous cop. His grandpa was a cop. Like it kind of runs in the family. So everybody knew he was going to become a fucking cop. And here's him stepping up, being leadership. They get everybody out of there except for our leftover characters. Cindy discovers that there's a route to the mess hall through the cave, but Alice is like, I can't move. I can't. You got to do this on your own. You got to do this on your own. So Ziggy almost made it to the bus, by the way, which was sad. The bus takes off and Ziggy's like, well, fuck. And so she's got to go back, but she doesn't want to leave her sister anyways. They're both trying to save each other, which I love. Cindy and Ziggy, who had a tumultuous relationship at this point, they're both trying to save each other. And, we're just looking at this and we're like, fuck, we know Ziggy's going to die because Cindy was C. Berman. And so it's like the whole time it's like the Titanic. You're like, when's Ziggy going to fucking die? When's she going to die? When's she going to die? And so she gets up, she finds a grate in what is in the cafeteria and just kicks the fuck out of that to get it open. I thought that was a pretty epic moment. I really enjoyed that. That was pretty cool. And we see a mirror reflection of that happen in the next movie as well, which was really cool.
Okay, so you got that too. All right.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. This whole movie they're mirrors to each other, and I think it's done on purpose, and I really liked it. While also, again, all the homages to the Jason movies, to the point where even the music, this was my favorite part.
God,
that homage,
I like that. I liked the score. It sounds like if John Williams had scored Friday the 13th.
Dude,
that's what I got from it.
Most people, when they think Friday the 13th, they think of
yeah.
No, I think of
yeah.
And they essentially sampled that. You know what I mean? Like they used that 3-4 seconds of that, and I was like, "This is, I love it." Yeah. When it's purposefully an homage, I love. When someone tries to steal, different. This was on purpose, and it was done well, and it merged in with their score. I loved it. Absolutely loved it, and it really set a tone for me that made me just go crazy, and I loved it. But yeah, so Tommy shows up, attacks Ziggy. I mean, all the scenes with Tommy, I gotta say, are really done well. At this point, he's got like a potato sack or something on his head.
I didn't really like the whole because when we see him in the film, the first film, he has the sack on his head. And I was at some point during the film, I was like, well, obviously he's the killer with the sack on his head. When's he getting the fucking sack on his head? I just thought it was a really lame.
Well, because I knew they wanted to mask him, but I didn't know what they were going to do.
Yeah.
Because I knew they couldn't do like a hockey mask or something. Yeah. But
I didn't like the execution of it.
Okay. I can agree with that, but I did like it, though. I love, again, the homage to Friday the 13th Part 2. I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. That's exactly what I got, from it. Or the Talent Dreaded Hood now.
Right, yeah. There were a number of different movies that used some sort of sack as a mask, and I really liked that. But yeah, so Tommy attacks Ziggy, and this was a really good scene for me. It just, I don't know. The tension was really high. It was done really well. But Cindy shows up and kills him. But we're already like, this fool ain't dead. I've seen the Jason movies. Yeah. He ain't dead. He's possessed. Yeah. But they don't know that. So Alice arrives and tells them that she found the witch's hand, because when she was down underground, she was fucking around looking at shit. And she did. She found the hand, the actual hand that was the witch that started the whole thing. And she had started bleeding, and that's when she realized she was sitting near the Satan Stone where she dug it out, yada, yada, yada. So the trio then decide they need to end the curse by reuniting Sarah's hand when Ziggy suddenly bleeds on the hand and sees a vision of Sarah Fear herself. This now triggers the fucking curse, resurrecting all the goddamn Shady Side killers again. Tommy, though, comes back to life and fucking kills Alice, which broke my heart, because I hated Alice in the beginning and then fell in love with her, and then they took her from me.
It was also one of the weaker kills in the film too. I felt.
Agreed, but I mean, I get it. But yeah, and then Cindy.
Wish they would have been this fucking subtle when it came to Kate. Jesus Christ.
Well, then Cindy decapitates him. So they run to the tree, the hanging tree, which where Ziggy was hanging out earlier that day. Pun intended. They've got all the killers.
Puns always intended.
With all the killers coming after them, they dig around the tree, find a rock that says "The witch forever lives." Cindy realizes that, oh shit, they're just after Ziggy, not her. So she drops the hand and she sacrifices herself. They both end up getting murdered. It's just, it's insane. I mean, you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess wait, Cindy's dead too? And you're just like, what the fuck? How are they both dead? And then I'm like, oh, she must have an older sister named Carrie, like, is what I'm telling Sarah. Like, I'm trying to fucking figure this out. The killers disappear. Nick finds them and then saves Ziggy via CPR.
Well, and I wrote, does CPR usually help with the stabbing?
No, but I mean, it can bring them back, because if they went into shock, or heart stopped, or things like that, it depends how bad the stab wound may not have been the thing that killed her. I mean, it could have been the shock from it all, or heart attack, or whatever.
Because if these films have taught us anything, it's that in this series, stabbings are merely flesh wounds. You can just come right back from them. But did you? So you got that also? You thought that? Because I thought that the older sister was the survivor.
100%, and it was made. Okay. They made you think that by saying C. Berman and then calling her Cindy and her being Ziggy. Well, then you find out that her first name is actually Christine, like when the paramedics are talking to her and stuff like that, because Ziggy's back to life, and she's like, oh, but your first name is actually Christine. Oh. And then you flash back to Dina and Josh realizing that C. Berman is actually Ziggy. And I mean, it was a twist I should have seen coming, but I didn't, because the whole time you're like, Ziggy's the cool one here. Why is she the one that's going to die? Right. So then it all makes sense. They tell her that they actually found the witch's body. And now with the hand, they can end the curse. And so Dina and Josh, they go to Shady Side Mall, which was built after the closure of Camp Nightwing. So this is really interesting. So the tree that's in the middle of the mall is the hanging tree. So they built this mall over the top of that.
I call bullshit on them discovering the hand in the fucking mall. I can only suspend my disbelief for so much.
Remember, at the end of the day, these were written for teens.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean this thing. Oh fuck! What I call bullshit. They would have got the thing that I would have got. If they would have found a fucking hand, they would have found that fucking hand. For one thing, that tree wouldn't fucking be there, and also they wouldn't have found that thing would have been excavated or something during the fucking construction of that fucking mall.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why, which gets into the next movie. Because of the conspiracy stuff. That's why I say no. I say this happened on purpose. They built them all around this. The only thing I don't like was that this was called Shady Side Mall when we found out that Camp Nightwing sat in between the two cities where Union was. So it should have been like the Union County Mall is what it should have been, because that's where the tree was and all that stuff. But regardless, they take it to the place where the body is buried. They reunite the body with the hand. And then Dina's nose starts to bleed, and she sees a vision of Sarah Fear in 1666, in which she then sees herself in that position. And we know that the next movie is going to be Dina seeing everything through her eyes, and things like that. And I thought this was pretty neat. But anyways, that's essentially part 2. And like I said, this was my favorite one. The twist got me. And sorry if I ruined the fucking twist for you, but I warned you. It was spoiler alert.
It got me too. It did get me too. I started disliking it once it got back into the fucking 1994 timeline. I liked it from the beginning to the end of the whole 1978 part of it. Loved it. Thought it was great.
Well, we'll discuss the overarching thing there to get in, but I do want to before we go, I want to listen to Disco Duck again. I know I made you listen to it with headphones on a couple times just to get you prepared earlier. So if we could just go ahead and listen to Disco Duck one more time.
Okay, Stefan, now that you've had your fucking fill and listened to Disco Duck 190 times, can we please go now?
But I'm telling you what, you just can't get enough of that song, Lance. It's so good. I was like, where's Disco Duck in this movie? Wasn't there. But alas, dear quarter brother, my bones ache for a simpler time, one even less modern and with even less creature comforts.
Finally, now you're talking some sense.
And since the next movie is Fear Street Part 3, 1666 it is!
I hate you.
Come on, you don't hate me that much. Come on. You knew that if we went to 1994 and then went to 1978, we were going to go to 1660.
Okay, Stefan, so here we are.
Look, she's churning butter.
Yeah. And look, people are jostling about in pig shit and
literally they all do look like Christopher Lee and what's his name? What's the other guy?
Peter Cushing.
Even the women look like Peter Cushing.
Yeah. And it's showing your ankles is penalty, but
it's called
it's
called shankles. You don't want to do that. But yeah, so part 3, 1666, the little subtitle thing on the poster here says "End the Curse." The thing that I like about this homage goes to the old Hammer films, those old gothic horror films from the late 60s, early 70s.
Think?
Oh yeah, I watch them.
I didn't
dude,
get that vibe.
Oh really? I mean, have you not watched old Hammer films outside of Dracula?
Fuck yes, I've watched old Hammer films. I got a couple of box sets, but I didn't get that with this. I
did, man. That old like English village, like with witches, like any of the old like freaking Hammer films that were like witch related or just creepy, you know. Even the Countess Bathory movie they did reminded me of this a little bit. But, however, this is more along the lines of the Vitch, that kind of era.
My God! Do not compare this to.
No. I'm saying the era, the era, and dealing with that type of superstition and things like that. So it's like Salem and you know, the witch burning times and things like that. So this is the 1600s here. So that's what we're dealing with in a new town, you know, of settlers, yada yada yada. So we start the movie. We're in 1994. Again, like we said, we see the severed hand of Sarah Fear, and the rest of the course, Dina has that vision showing the events of 1666 from the perspective of Sarah Fear. So then we move fully into this where we start to realize that to help her understand this vision, the gods or whoever is doing this is allowing her to see other characters played by people in her life from other movies that we've seen, but whatever. I liked it. It's a way you don't have to get a whole new cast. So
yeah, and I even wrote Kate lives.
Yep, and I thought that was cool because it was a fun way to do some colorblind casting, which was really interesting, especially because when you get historical, people bitch about colorblind casting because they're like, there never would have been a black girl allowed to be alive. But being able to do it where they themselves are playing homages, right? It makes it okay for the boy, we're hating on Republicans today, and I didn't mean to do that. But I'm talking about a very subsection of Republicans there. But anyways, we see that Dina is playing Sarah Fear. So finally we're meeting Sarah Fear, and we do see what Sarah Fear actually looks like as well. They flip back a number of times to remind you. She lives with her father, George, and her brother, Henry, who's Josh again. Love that man.
Who's Josh?
Living in Union, which, like we said, was the original settlement before it was divided into Sunnydale and Shadyside. The community also includes Pastor Cyrus Miller, his daughter Hannah, Abigail, and her sister Constance, Mad Thomas, who was great character. He was a great character.
What a character.
You always got to have a crazy guy. Caleb, and then Sarah's friends, Lizzie, Isaac, and then Solomon Good and Solomon's brother, Elijah. So one night you got Sarah, Lizzie, and Hannah. They go out to meet the reclusive widow to gather potent berries for a party. Let's just go ahead and say witch, right? We already know this was always the case. There was the old hag that lived outside the village, usually in the woods. And this is a real thing that happened. They were the medicine folks that they lived in the woods because they were able to get the herbs and everything that they needed. But
they weren't grabbing those berries for medicinal purposes. They were grabbing them to fucking trip balls.
Yep.
They wanted
it was a thing to stick a widow out in the woods. Like I don't get it. But anyways,
we should still do that.
Yeah. Sarah stumbles upon a book of black magic, which is the book that we saw that Nurse Lane had. And so we're like, okay, so this the OG witch. This the OG witch. And so I'm like, are they going to do another thing where like Sarah Fear's not actually the witch thing? But no, they're not. So this lady is the actual witch. And was this C. Berman? Was this her? Was this the same actress? I think it was.
See, I thought too. I don't think so. I can't
remember now because it's been a few weeks since I actually watched these. So images don't stick, but storyline does. So, yeah. But anyways, after fleeing, the group arrives at a party.
Ye old field party.
Yeah, ye old field party where the teens are out there. They got a fire in the woods. They're out there drinking.
May I ask you, what is Applejack? I know of the cereal.
It is, I believe it's like a apple whiskey.
Okay.
Let me double check because I've had it, but it's been a long time.
Because they brought it up that they were drinking Applejack, and I thought, what the fuck?
Yeah, it is a strong alcoholic drink produced from apples. So maybe it's probably like a brandy. So it's probably like an apple brandy.
Okay.
So that makes sense. So one thing I did like about this was that I hated that every time we see a movie set in the 1600s or whatever, especially in America, they're always fucking Puritans. And this community really wasn't. Like, there was a little bit of Puritan, like the pastor was obviously Puritan. You know, the whole good last name, I mean, they called them goodies. That was the whole thing. It was like, so that was an homage to that. But the town itself was not this crazy religious town. They were a group of settlers that I assume were just your kind of standard cultural Christian town. And I actually appreciated that because it allowed a slow boil as opposed to she's a witch from from minute one, like they always do in these old movies that are set back then. So I really appreciated that because not every fucking town in the 1600s in America was fucking Puritan. It just wasn't. That it's such a misnomer. I mean, Jamestown was full of English folks. They were Anglican. Like they, you know what I mean? It's like whatever. So anyways, so they're out having the fucking field party. And Caleb shows up and harasses Sarah and Hannah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And they reject his advances. And then we're like, okay, so they're going to play this where they're going to have a lesbian couple here too. Again, something I definitely disbelieved. 100%.
I liked it. I liked
1666.
I did like it a little bit more in this because they did try to keep it a little more secretive.
I agree. And I don't know the history of homosexuality. Like, you know, I know that the Greeks and Romans were super into it. And then the church kind of changed a lot of that. And then it got okay in the 21st century. Right. So it's like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to me. And I guess I take that back and I say the reason I disbelieved is because it was new. Well, I mean, unless you're watching a Hammer film or you're watching lesbian vampires, you know, it's like...
Well, they were. You could tell they were kind of trying to go for the Bram Stoker Dracula thing, like the film, where they were sort of. I know this is probably the wrong term, but like star-crossed lovers. Like, sure,
star-crossed lover. We could also say it. You know, it is a small settlement, which means people probably half the people died before they even got, you know what I mean? Like, and so maybe they're just sexualized, like lust, you know.
Well, like, you know, and the fact that I can't, you know, I don't know the actresses' names, but the fact that the couple in this is Dina and Sam. They're not Dina and Sam. They're Sarah Fear and what was
Hannah.
Yeah. The fact they're played by the same people as they are, they're portrayed by the same people.
And it is kind of similar as well because, you know, Sarah Fear, you know, her family's not really all that respected. And Hannah here is the preacher's daughter, whereas in the first movie, you know, she was like a goody, even though she came from Shady Side. And so, so I guess so. Yeah. And I guess they just found each other. And what else do you have there? So sure. Okay. Thank you. You helped me calculate more what I was looking at. But the two run off and they get intimate.
What I'm here for.
And they have a pretty...
Do they get intimate?
They have a pretty good scene where I was like, how old are they?
I wrote softcore porn.
Yep.
Jeez. And I was watching this scene with my sister. Talk about awkward. Good Lord.
Oh, man.
I just to throw this out there and listen, people, it was a joke. It's nothing. I'm not that guy, but I did piss my sister off because I made the comment. I said, "A stick in your tongue in someone's vagina is considered witchcraft, then I should be chasing Dorothy and Toto." Lance!
Oh, I wish we could make a t-shirt with that quote on there. Oh, we'd get murdered though. But yes, 100%. Great sex scene though. It was good, even though I felt awkward because I know they're like high school age. So I'm like, ugh. But I thought it was done well. But of course, Mad Thomas is watching this. Ugh, what a creeper. What a creeper. The next day, Pastor Miller begins to act strange. Not only is he acting weird, but the food and water supply is utterly destroyed. Like a plague or something, which this is a classic move in these old type movies that take place in these, that the crops go bad, that, you know, even in The Witch, like the movie The Witch, like that was a lot of the thing, the shit goes crazy and you're like, who do you blame? Like, it's got to be witchcraft, so somebody must have done it, right? And so
I remember like one of the first things they notice is because at the beginning of the third film, they the first scene is a pig giving birth to piglets, and when the fucking, I don't know, the witchcraft starts or whatever, they discovered that the pig has eaten the piglets, which I found very fucking
pigs will do that too. Like
pigs,
under stress,
up, man. And also they pull a dog out of the whale. A dead dog.
Oh, that was so sad.
Well, but why was the dog petrified? Did you see that? The dog was almost like fucking mummified.
It could have just been rigor mortis. I don't know. Depends how long
I guess,
been
but
there.
I mean, it looked.
It was weird. It was definitely weird. And don't forget that Sarah gave one of the pigs to which one's the one that
Solomon.
Is it Solomon? Okay, I get him and Elijah mixed up.
Solomon Goop.
Solomon's the one that his wife and son died, and his brother is Elijah, and Elijah is kind of like the town leader. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's kind of like the main dude. So she's developed a very close relationship with Elijah. I think she used to babysit and all kinds of shit like that. So she was really close with them. So she brings one of the piglets before they fucking die over to Elijah. And we kind of get introduced to how close they are and that, you know, he understands how life is hard and supports her and things like that. And he even is like, hey, y'all and Hannah need to keep this under wraps. Like he was even, hey, look, we know y'all fucking. Y'all need to keep it under wraps or you're going to get fucking murdered. I mean, is essentially... Yeah. What's that? Sarah is talking to Elijah. Remember, she's like, am I the reason for this bad luck? Is it because of what I did with Hannah? And because she pushed Hannah to do it a little bit, you know, so she's like,
she's talking to Solomon.
Yeah. And sorry, I told you I get them mixed up. Yeah. But yeah, she's talking to Solomon and, you know, she's like, am I the reason for this? Am I the reason why all this, like, the town's bad luck is happening? Yeah,
she makes a comment. She goes, because he's like kind of trying to console her, and he says something like, it was just a dalliance. It was nothing. And then she says, it wasn't a dalliance. Yep. All that great period, you know, stuff.
All the dalliance. They run back to town because crazy shit's happening. You find out that the pastor has lost his fucking mind. And he has murdered all the children.
Yes, that's one of the more eerier scenes.
Oh my God. I mean, there's so much more stuff that happens. Like I said, we're already running on a 2-hour-long show. So it's like, this was crazy, dude. Like Hannah already got in trouble. You know what I mean? For like
Yeah.
Everyone, like even her parents were like, we know you's gay, stuff. But like the pastor, Cyrus has lost his mind and the kids are in there. Solomon they bust in there and find that all the kids have their eyes gone and like they're fucking dead and his eyes are fucking gone. Like, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Well,
now,
the eyeballs are like in a big
pile, like
at the altar.
God, it was so gross. Even like Henry and Constance are dead. Like, these are their friends and family and stuff, and it's fucking crazy. Sarah nearly gets murdered by the pastor before Solomon kills this motherfucker, which was badass. That night there's a town meeting. It's held to decide what to do because people are trying to figure out what the hell happened. Like, why did this happen? Why did he murder the kids? Why are the crops failing? Why has the water gone bad? What the shit? And of course, they decide that it's witchcraft.
Yeah. And they just start yelling heathens over and over.
Oh, I know. Mad Thomas gets everyone like hyped up, saying he's seen all this stuff, and then gets Caleb to go ahead and say it. Because remember, Caleb was one who had his advances pushed away. So he's like,
we saw his boner and everything.
Yep, I forgot about that.
Remember they show that? They fucking show that. Oh God.
But yeah, so Caleb claims that Sarah and Hannah are the witches responsible. I mean, at this point, fuck. What are they gonna do? I mean, Hannah's dad's dead. Her mom's a fucking zealot. I don't even remember what happened to fucking Sarah. I mean, not Sarah, but Hannah. I think I said Hannah, but I don't even remember where Sarah's parents are. I don't even fucking remember. Do you remember?
Her dad doesn't so much just own her, but he just, I don't know. He kind of just, I guess it's trying to, like you said, these films are mirrors of each other.
And I think her mom was dead. I think her mom was dead.
Her father, just sort of, because in 1994, we never see the father, by the way, in 1994, but we know that he's an alcoholic.
Yep.
And that's what he sort of becomes in this. He just sort of, drowns himself in drink.
Yep. Well, the two try to run away. Hannah essentially sacrifices herself to make sure Sarah can escape. So Sarah escapes, and the town declares that Hannah's going to be executed at dawn in classic 1600s town fashion. So Sarah sneaks her ass into the chapel where Hannah's just confined, which is already messed up. It's like, we're going to make you stay in this room where all these kids were just murdered and eyeballs were on the floor.
Yeah. What if they even had the courtesy to clean them first? Yeah.
But back then that's the way it was. Your church was your state building. It was your courthouse. It was your everything. Yeah. So Hannah and them, they confess their love for each other, which we know that's going to happen. Yeah. Sarah decides she's going to get the widow's book and use it to make a deal with the devil to save Hannah. And you're like, okay, so you're being accused of being a witch, so you might as well be a witch.
Yeah, and I was like, is this promoting Satanism?
Which, of course, as a witch myself, we know this is bullshit, old, archaic witches being Satan's whatever, but witch is a general term, so it doesn't always just mean Wiccan. It can mean these crazy satanic craziness. So I let it slide because I do like this old stuff. Even though I am pagan and I hate the Burning Times, I still do like old witch movies.
Turncoat.
I know. So she gets there. She gets to the old lady's house, but the widow's been murdered. Mm-hmm. And so she's like,
yeah.
which man, quit. When you were there last time, you're going through shit, like, and the widow's like, bitch, get your hands off my shit. But she finds the book is gone. You know what I mean? So she goes to the only person she could think of is Solomon. So she goes to his house for help, because the whole time Solomon was like, guys, stop this. This isn't even during the town meeting. He's like, no, stop. Why are we not blaming the man that's already dead? Like, he did this. He murdered these children. Obviously, he did this, but they didn't get the retribution that they wanted. So they wanted someone else to kill to get their retribution and stuff like that. So she goes to Solomon's house for help. She hides in the back room after he's ambushed by men because they're all looking for Sarah. They're trying to find her.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he's talking to them while she finds a tunnel underneath his house. And this gets really interesting because then you're like, fuck, where's the whole time I'm like, okay, where's his house in comparison to Camp Nightwing? Like, that's what I'm already starting to think, right? Like, I'm already thinking, because we already know that Camp Nightwing was over the town. So I'm like, oh, she's found
as soon as she found that tunnel, I knew, I fucking knew what was going to happen.
I still did not. Yeah. I will, you know me very well. I am very gullible in movies. And I was like, what's she going to find? What's she gonna find down there? What's it gonna be? And because somebody had mentioned in one of the previous two movies that Sarah had dug the tunnels, like she created underneath everything.
Yeah. It was 1978, I believe.
Right, and so I was still under that impression, so I was kind of shocked that this was found already. But anyways, she finds the tunnels under his house, and she discovers a ritual as well as the widow's book. This was amazing to me. The symbol shows back up. Just the book, everything set up was really like cool and archaic and like nasty magic. And I was like, ooh, this is cool. You see the slabs back there. Like, you're like, oh, that's where them names is gonna go. Like,
yeah.
It was nice. It was really cool. To see that, but she is freaking out, and Solomon essentially catches her, like, because he's run off Elijah and those guys, and he basically is like, well, you fucked up, didn't you, girl?
Well, no, not exactly, because he's like telling her like, oh, you're different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you fucked up, I gotta tell you. So he says that he took the book to make a deal with the devil himself, offering Pastor Miller to be possessed to kill others in exchange for power and wealth. Now, this was kind of surprising at first because you think he's a good guy, but then you realize the trauma and everything he had from losing his kids. He felt so weak. He offers to share it with Sarah, but she rejects his offer and goes deeper into the tunnels. They have an epic fight. In which this motherfucker cuts her hand off, and again, I should have known it was coming.
Let's not forget, because he at some point, like in every other part of these fucking movies, he gets stabbed and just brushes it off, because obviously a stabbing means fucking nothing in these films.
I mean, how many times did Jason get shot or stabbed before he turned supernatural?
Oh, but it's different when I don't know. It was stupid in these films. Leave me alone.
Okay. But anyways, they cuts the hand off, and I was like, oh my God, he cut her hand off. Yep. Oh yeah, that was gonna happen, wasn't it?
Yeah. Not since Luke Skywalker.
But she gets to the chapel, which we realize, oh shit, this is the same place as the cafeteria. Because it's got a similar area, and this is where we see a similar scene of her kicking the grate up that's underneath the chapel, which I thought was really, really cool. I really liked that. But she gets found by the townspeople. She gets arrested. And so now her and Hannah are both fucked. Yeah. Essentially. Sarah somehow convinces the town to spare Hannah's life. But she swears vengeance to Solomon before she's hanged. And they all of her friends and Hannah and all them all like mourn Sarah, and they essentially dig up her body and bury it somewhere else and give her a proper burial, which we know where that all happened.
And where her body is, and underneath the tree, they replace it with the rock that they found in 1978 that says the witch lives forever. And
it was done pretty quick, so I was like, wait a minute, it's only been like an hour. I was like, is it this short? And then it goes 1994 part 2, and you're like,
I fucking hated that. I felt like that title card was very, 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 very unnecessary.
It was unnecessary. I liked it. I like stupid shit like that though. But I mean, I guess I thought I should have known, hey, we do have to wrap up the main storyline. So I wasn't even thinking about it. But so we get back to 1994. Dina's vision ends. She realizes the good family's responsible for the curse. And because, Solomon was the main good there, that the firstborn of each generation have to repeat the ritual begun by their ancestor Solomon, which is why Nick was being groomed the way that he was being groomed.
Yes.
Because he had to be essentially the sheriff there, because that's essentially what it turned into.
And I gotta tell you, this really threw me for a loop. Yes. I did not see this coming. I really did not see this coming.
Yeah. Her and Josh get found by Sheriff Good, but they escape in Nick's car. They get to Ziggy's house, which we now know she's Ziggy. Ziggy is still watching the possessed Sam, who's just hanging out. Which I love. They deduce that they have to kill Nick in order to stop the Shadyside curse, since he hasn't had any kids. So with the recruit of Martin, who's the mall janitor, who I love. Talk about a character that I love that's in the first movie. And he was in some.
And listen, this was the only line that made me fucking pop and laugh. Is they pull up to him. He's outside of his house, and they pull up to him and they say, "You want to go kill the sheriff?" And he waits like there's a half second of silence, and he goes, "Let me get my coat."
I love him because he saw all the murders at the mall. He was there when he saw that. Plus, he's an actor who's like in some old Nickelodeon show or something. I forget, but I've always liked this actor, and so I loved it. I thought it was really cool.
Best fucking line.
Yeah,
best fucking line.
So I was so pumped, man, that they got Martin in on this, and they get together a plan to lure Nick to the mall and set traps to have the Shadyside murderers kill him, which is really interesting. So they've kind of really learned a lot at this point, between seeing the flashback to 66, to Ziggy's story, their own experiences, the book, and all this stuff. They figured out how all things are connected. So they do indeed manage to temporarily trap the killers in the mall, which was a really cool scene. And you gotta love the fucking blacklight shit and all that, because that was so 90s, using the blood, which was really cool, and all that stuff was really interesting. So what they do is Ziggy lures Nick to the mall, where in classic Carrie fashion, dumps a bucket of Dina's blood over him, because Dina's now the one that Sarah is after. So Nick manages somehow to get away and escapes into the tunnels. And Dina and a possessed Sam follow him while the others are fighting off the killers. And this whole fucking montage of fucking kills and all this stuff with the kill is brill. I loved it. I thought it was fun.
Well, I loved it when they because they also have water guns filled with the blood of Dina. Yeah. And they end up shooting. I guess we can call them killers, but they end up shooting the killers, which makes the killers come after one another. And I just have monster fight, because that's just that.
I loved that crew, man. The crew at the mall was my favorite, dude. They were so fucking funny. I just loved watching all them work together and come up with plans and all that. It was fucking brill. But like we said, they're down into the tunnels. Sam attacks Dina, but somehow she's able to break Sam out of her possession temporarily, and incapacitates her. But then Nick shows up, pins Dina down, and nearly kills her. Dina is able to expose Nick to a pile of beating organs. So we're back to the pile of mush there, which gives him a vision of all of his killer's victims. So that was interesting. So everyone else sees all the killers, but he sees all the victims. And I thought that was really, really interesting. What an interesting flip on that. So Dina kills him, which was amazing. I really loved that kill as well. And it causes all the killers to disappear and the curse to be broken, which later we see the Good family is exposed for their actions. This is really great because you find out the Good family is the mayor as well. So they're deeply connected. That's how everything was able to get done, because this shit went back forever. And I really liked that. That was a cool twist. And then you just kind of see where everyone's at after this point, now that everything's kind of find its way. You see Martin gets a career selling new technology, which is hilarious.
What are they, fucking Walkmans or something?
Something. I think it was like almost like a CD player. I think he was trying to do like a CD Walkman, and they're like, no one will ever carry this. And then Ziggy hooks back up with Nurse Lane. And then Dina and Sam finally have a picnic date at Sarah Fear's grave. Even Josh is like doing good. It's like, it was a good ending. And then of course we had our mid-credit shocker, where someone's hands are seen taking
up the book,
satanic book, which I even said, why are you leaving that book when it happened?
Yeah. So we're going to get another fucking 3 of these. Yay.
I would watch more. I really enjoyed these. I loved them. I think they were really good.
All right. Well, you want to go ahead and give our final thoughts on this film?
Yeah, let's do her.
All right. Let's just do the series overall.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I like I said, I loved every one of these. My wife really liked it, which she doesn't usually like more gruesome stuff, and there was some gore in this, but I liked it because I loved the homages to classic slashers and classic horrors like out there. I really enjoyed that. I'm a sucker sometimes for teen horror, I guess because I grew up in the 90s and that's all it was teen horror. I really enjoyed that. Like I said, Camp Nightwing 78 was my favorite. I will watch that again and again. I thought the twist was done really well. Just really, I loved everything about it. 66 and 94 were all right, but they were important. Again, I didn't know that these were going to be a trilogy of one story. I thought they were just going to be like American Horror Stories. I thought it was just going to be 3 separate stories with a kind of a theme of Sarah Fear running through it. So I was pleasantly surprised to see the connection there. There was lots of unbelievable moments, but I tell you, man, out of like, I would say out of a 5-point scale, I'd give it a 4.5. I really enjoyed it. I loved them. I couldn't wait to talk to people about them. Like that's where it was at. And I haven't had, it's been a minute since I've had a movie do that.
Honestly, what could have made even 1978, which I'm with you. 1978 was, I liked that one more than 94 and 1666. But overall, man, I honestly thought each one of these films could have had 20 to 30 minutes shaved off of it. I thought the last one was way too fucking long. It just kept, and I felt like that way with all of them. But I guess by the time I watched the last one, I was like, just wrap this fucking thing up.
I did not. I mean, the third one was less than 2 hours, so
it was an hour 54, so barely less than 2 hours.
Still less than 2 hours.
I
liked it. I didn't have any problem. I didn't think they were long. I didn't have an issue like that at all. Like I said, I was involved from start to finish. Now I will say, had these been released as normal movies get released and a year or two in between, I don't think I would have enjoyed them as much. The fact, I mean, Sarah, my wife, and I watched these. So we watched the first 2 back to back. And then we had to wait 1 week to watch the third one. So, I mean, it was like watching one giant movie for me, which is something that I really, really liked. I think, and it was meant to be that way. And I think that had you released these in the theater a year or two apart, it would have lost any effect. I think I would have had I would have talked differently about this, because some details were so small. Had I not watched it, I would have missed it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm very, because there are the things that I like about each one of them. I do like a lot. Like, I thought the fucking kills were awesome. I thought the characters outside of our main characters that are in the 1994 plot line or timeline or whatever you want to call it, I thought they were just really weak and bland. I just didn't have a higher expectation than that. It's a Netflix original movie.
Yeah. And it's a horror movie. And it's based off of teeny bopper books. I'm like, I wasn't expecting Shakespeare here.
Yeah. And listen, I really, when it comes down to this, I felt like this was just American Horror Story for teens.
Oh, sure. And I love American Horror Story. It's popcorn. Yeah. I'm like, you know what I mean?
I wasn't the target audience for this.
For sure. Like, my generation, for sure. I think it fits. I think it fits, even though our generations are pretty close, but it's like, it still definitely fits more Gen X and then the new generation, because they're the teens now, right? So the millennials did kind of get passed over on this. I can definitely see that. Though Sarah really enjoyed it. She's a millennial as well. So I don't know. My sister enjoyed it a lot. Most of the folks that I talked to, like my friends at work, really enjoyed it. You're actually the first person I've talked to that didn't like it, but I mean, I've only asked like 5 people, so it's not like I asked like a fucking Gallup poll or anything. I will say the director did say, just like we thought, that these movies were influenced by certain movies. So the first one, she said Scream influenced her, Friday the 13th influenced her on the second one. But oddly enough, she said that the third movie was influenced by the New World movie, which was that film that was like the live action version about Pocahontas and all that stuff.
Really? Huh.
So that was her inspiration for all of that. And there is talk of more Fear Street movies kind of looking at the other killers that we've seen and kind of seeing their stories.
That I know I sound like a complete hypocrite, because I didn't really like these, but honestly, I want to see Ruby Lane's story.
Oh, I want to see Ruby's. I want to see the little kid.
Yeah.
But apparently the first one that's in like talks right now is the Milkman dude. He's the one that's like they're talking about first. So
well, I'd like to see him. Yep. Although he did the makeup design reminded me a lot. So going back to American Horror Story, remember the dude that was burned in the first American Horror Story?
Mm-hmm.
I thought the makeup design, even that actor looked a lot like one another. So
yeah, very cool. Well, so out of 5 stars, what do you give it? I mean, like I said, I gave 4.5.
I'll give it 2.5.
Man, that's disappointing.
I know, a little low, but I can't go 3 because by just each one of them, about when it had about 15 or 20 minutes left, I was just like, wrap this fucking thing up, wrap it up.
Well, speaking of wrapping up, let's wrap it up. That's the Fear Street trilogy, and we got shit to do.
And with that, dear friends, we come to the end of another delightfully disturbing episode of Misters of the Dark. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you to the Fearscape Media Network. And thank you to Corey Adams and Ashley Jones Adams from Nothing Wrong for our musical thing.
And boy, I gotta tell you, Lance, I am butter churned out.
Are you now?
Yep. So I'm not ready to go home yet. So why don't you have a go at the old time machine of the dark? Because, dude, I've been butter churning this whole time we've been in 1666, and my pepperonis are roasting. Woo!
Really? Oh boy, thanks, Stefan.
Yeah, not at all. I gotta do what I can for my little quarter brother. So where are we heading, buddy?
Oh boy, to a time of kings!
Oh yes, we're gonna go to Arthurian times and see King Arthur, and we're gonna see Merlin. Oh, I must admit, this hardly seems like what Python portrayed. It's a little more wooded, I guess. I don't even see any castles. Just see trees and fields and... What the hell?
Oh, see, I told you, Stefan. Meet the king of the dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus Rex. What are you waiting for, Martin Bolan? Get it on! Bang a gong! But before we go, dear friends, I'll leave you with this. The past is in your head. The future is in your hands. Good night!
No, Dino, Dino, Dino! Ah!
Oh, remember, Stefan, they can't see you if you don't move.